In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Chosen one. This message didn't find you by accident. God led you here for a reason. There is something happening in your life that even you can't fully explain. It's not just about financial increase. It's about generational transformation. You've been chosen not just to get rich, but to build a legacy that lives beyond you. This is bigger than wealth, bigger than influence, bigger than comfort. This is about destiny. Let's break this down into 7 divine revelations that will show you exactly what's happening and why everything is about to shift. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this message isn't just content. It's a divine confirmation for the chosen ones who are not just getting rich, but rising to create legacy. If your spirit feels this frequency, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random. It's a sacred signal to the Most High and the universe that you're ready to break generational limits, ready to walk in divine wealth, ready to build something that outlives you. Not everyone will make it to the end. Only the truly chosen, only those who understand that this isn't about material gain, but divine purpose. And those who stay will receive clarity, insight, and divine confirmation that they are being trusted to carry generational impact. This isn't just a message, it's a blueprint, a spiritual inheritance wrapped in words. Rewatch it as often as your soul leads, because every time you do, another layer of legacy will be revealed. Another key will be handed to you, another door will unlock. Let's dive into it. Chapter 1, the shift from survival to legacy. You've spent most of your life in survival mode, not because you lacked faith, but because God was forging something unshakable within you. You weren't behind. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. While others were building comfort, you were building character. While others were chasing titles, you were learning to pray in silence. While others had help, you had heaven. You've smiled while breaking, given when you barely had, praised while in pain. This wasn't just endurance. This was training. You were walking through heaven's curriculum for leaders, learning how to carry weight, stand in truth, and trust when nothing made sense. But now the season is shifting. You're no longer stuck in survival. You're awakening. You're asking for blueprints. You're thinking generationally. You've moved from panic to purpose. The wealth that's coming is not for comfort, it's for calling. Not to show off, but to build. Not to help you escape, but to establish something eternal. You are being positioned to carry provision that sets others free. To break chains, fund visions, reverse curses. But first your identity had to shift. You're not just a survivor, you're a builder. You're not just the one who made it out, you're the one making a way for others. Legacy starts in the mind, and the enemy fought yours hard because he knew if you ever broke out of survival mode, you'd become unstoppable. But he failed. You're here, you're focused, you're elevating. You're no longer asking, will I have enough? You're asking, what can I build with what I've been given? And that's legacy thinking. This is bigger than you. It's about your children, your community, the vision, God, you. That's finally breathing again. You are rising to establish, to plant seeds that grow into spiritual forests. Seeds watered by your obedience, faith, endurance, And yes, your pain, because pain becomes legacy when surrendered to God. This isn't just about entering overflow. It's about becoming the origin of generational healing, the first to fully walk in divine inheritance. You're no longer concerned with status. You're building substance. You're not trying to shine. You're trying to leave something behind. And that's why God chose you, not because you're perfect, because you were faithful when it made no sense. You trusted when you had no proof. You praised through the pressure. Now you're not just surviving, you're sent, you're rising. You're building for eternity. This is your new identity. This is your assignment. This is your confirmation. You're not just getting wealth. You are building legacy. Chapter 2. Why you had to lose first chosen one. Let these settle in your spirit. The loss wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Every closed door, every betrayal, every moment where it felt like God was silent, it all had a purpose. You had to experience what it meant to be overlooked, underestimated, rejected, and under-resourced. You had to walk through the valley of not enough, so that when more than enough arrives, you won't be consumed by pride. You'll be anchored by perspective. You see, legacy builders can't afford to be shallow. They can't afford to be entitled. They must be deep, disciplined, and divinely rooted. And that kind of foundation doesn't come through comfort. It comes through crushing. You weren't losing. You were being humbled, hollowed out, and heaven shaped. You were learning what matters. You were learning what to let go of and what to hold tight to. And most importantly, you were learning how to receive without forgetting who gave it. God allowed the loss to train your heart before He could trust your hands. Because wealth without wisdom becomes a weapon, not a blessing. He had to make sure you wouldn't become another broken soul with a full bank account and an empty purpose. So yes, you had to lose. You had to sit in rooms where you felt small. You had to walk away from people you loved. You had to look at an empty account and still say, God, I trust you. That wasn't weakness, that was warfare. You were being trained in the hidden places, taught how to lead when no one followed, taught how to give when you were lacking, taught how to carry disappointment and still move with grace. Because legacy builders don't just give from their hand, they give from their history. They don't just drop off blessings, they carry the weight of understanding behind every seed they sow. That's why when your season of winning comes, and make no mistake, it is coming, you won't just spend, you'll sow, you'll build, you'll pour. You'll invest in people, in visions, in divine blueprints. You'll plant into communities, fund purpose-driven projects, and resurrect dreams in others. Because you remember the pain of not having enough, you won't hoard. What's coming, you'll multiply it with purpose. You'll see money as a tool, not a trophy, because you've been refined by lack, not ruined by it. The loss didn't disqualify you, it qualified you. It gave you a heart that feels, a mind that thinks beyond today, a soul that's not addicted to luxury but anchored in legacy. You know how to treat people at the bottom because you were there. You know how to empower the broken because you were them. You know how to rebuild from ruins, because that's exactly where God met you. So don't resent the loss. Don't try to erase it from your story. That loss gave you eyes that see clearly, hands that give freely, and a spirit that stays humble no matter how high God takes you. It softened your heart, it sharpened your discernment, it made your soil ready for a harvest that lasts. Yes, chosen one, you had to lose first, because what you're about to carry isn't normal, it's sacred. And God had to make sure your spirit could handle the weight before He delivered the wealth. The world saw you as failing, but heaven saw you as forming. And now the one who lost it all is about to build something that can never be taken away. The loss was the seed. Legacy is the fruit, chapter 3. The responsibility of divine wealth, chosen one. The wealth that is coming to you is not ordinary, and that's exactly why God didn't release it prematurely. This next level of abundance isn't for popularity, comfort, or competition. It's for divine purpose. And with divine purpose comes divine responsibility. You prayed for overflow, but heaven heard more than your words. Heaven tested your heart before God ever releases a blessing. He examines the vessel. He had to be sure your character could carry what your prayers were asking for, because divine wealth isn't given just to make life easier. It's given to make impact eternal. God had to purify your intentions. He had to remove the ego. He had to strip away the need to prove anything to anyone. He had to dig deep into your soul and pull out the residue of performance and comparison, so that when the increase came, you wouldn't use it to compete, you'd use it to complete kingdom assignments. This wealth you're stepping into is weighty. It comes with authority, but also with accountability. You'll be making decisions that don't just affect your bank account, but other people's futures. And that's why He delayed it until now, because what you're about to carry can't be contaminated by selfishness. It can't be driven by insecurity. It can't be fueled by fear. You're not being made wealthy just to rest. You're being resourced to raise people, raise standards, raise families, raise the atmosphere. When you walk into a room, raise the spiritual temperature of communities that have gone cold. Raise the broken from the dust and remind them of their worth. You will be called to fund visions that were dying. You will be called to rescue destinies on the brink of collapse. You will be the one God uses to answer prayers through your obedience. This is why the warfare intensified before the breakthrough, because the enemy doesn't fear you having wealth. He fears you stewarding it with wisdom. He fears you building things that last. He fears you creating systems that bring freedom. He fears you using what you receive to break chains instead of buy chains. This is wealth on assignment. This is abundance with intention. This is divine currency. Not for ego and for elevation. God is calling you to think differently, to ask, what can I fund for the kingdom? To ask, whose burden can I lift today? To look beyond accumulation and into asterisk activation. You're not chosen to hoard. You're chosen to heal. You're not called to flex. You're called to free others. That's why He tested your heart in the wilderness. That's why He watched what you did with little, because the one who's faithful with little can be trusted with much. You didn't buy your way into this level. You bled into it. You served into it. You sacrificed into it. And now the reward isn't just material. It's missional. God can trust you not because you're perfect, but because when it was hard, you stayed obedient. When it was lonely, you stayed loyal. When it didn't make sense, you still said, yes, this wealth is coming through you. But it's not just for you. You're a distributor for heaven now, a financier for kingdom vision, a carrier of generational freedom. So prepare your hands not just to receive, but to release. Prepare your heart not just to enjoy, but to empower. Because what's coming is greater than anything you've imagined, but so is the responsibility that comes with it. And you're ready. You've been prepared. You've been tested. You've been chosen, not because you're perfect, but because you're trusted. Chapter 4, you're building what they couldn't finish. Chosen one. Understand this truth. You are not just living your life, you are finishing a story that began long before you arrived. Many who came before you dreamed of better, hoped for more, and labored in love. But they didn't have the tools, access, or time to build what their hearts envisioned. They were survivors, warriors, workers, nurturers, but most of them were never positioned to be legacy builders. They fought battles you'll never see. They endured hardships you'll never fully understand. They cried silent prayers. They never had the language to speak out loud, but God heard them. And you are the answer to those generational groanings. You are the one chosen to complete what they started. This is why your life has felt heavy, why your path has been unusual, why you've always felt like you didn't fit the mold. You're not just another person in the bloodline, you're the break in the pattern. You're the one anointed to pick up the spiritual tools they never had and build what they couldn't finish. Your ancestors tilled the soil, planted the seeds, and endured drought after drought. And now you carry the rain, you carry the blueprint, you carry the favor, you carry the oil to break what broke them. Yes, their hands were rough from labor, but yours are blessed for leadership. They didn't have access, but you have open doors. They didn't have language, but you have revelation. They were bound by survival, but you have been called into strategy. This is why your life feels like a war, because you're doing what has never been done in your family before. You are carrying assignments that stretch beyond your generation. You are rebuilding spiritual walls that were torn down by trauma, addiction, poverty, dysfunction, and silence. You are not weak. You are warfare in motion. Every attack on your identity, your health, your mind, your money, it's all been an attempt to stop you from building what you were born to build. But what the enemy didn't expect was that you wouldn't quit. You might have cried, you might have stumbled, but you didn't break. And now heaven is placing tools in your hands that no one before you ever held. You have the time they didn't have. You have the vision they weren't allowed to explore. You have the faith they weren't free to walk in. And most of all, you have the favor to do what they only dreamed of. Every time you make a decision to heal, you're rebuilding what they lost. Every time you choose peace over chaos, you're redeeming what they couldn't protect. Every time you speak life over your future, you're rewriting the prophecy over your bloodline. You are not just chosen, you are called. You are commissioned. You are anointed. to finish what generations before you couldn't. And it's not pressure, it's privilege. You were born for this. You were sent for this. God didn't just handpick you, He equipped you. Your discernment, your depth, your discipline, none of it is accidental. It's all part of your divine assignment. You're the first in your family to see clearly and build wisely. The first to say, it stops with me. The first to say, it begins with me. You are the turning point of your bloodline. So yes, this path is hard. Yes, you've felt isolated. Yes, you've had to carry burdens. You didn't create, but you're also the one who's been trusted to carry a blueprint heaven waited generations to release. Chapter 5, you're not just gathering money, you're gathering purpose. Chosen one, let's be clear. If money was your only goal, you would have taken the easy route a long time ago. You had chances to sell out. You had doors that would have led to quick profit, but deep compromise. You were offered opportunities that looked like blessings, but would have buried your calling. And yet you walked away, not because you didn't need the money, but because your spirit wouldn't let you betray your assignment. Every time your soul whispered no to something that seemed promising, it was God protecting your purpose. Every time you turned down something that made sense on paper but felt wrong in your gut, that was divine alignment at work, because you weren't created to just collect wealth. You were created to channel purpose. That's why you felt disconnected from what others chase. You can't idolize what you're meant to steward. You were never designed to chase riches. You were designed to attract them through obedience. The money that's coming to you isn't coming because you manipulated, hustled, or deemed it's coming. Because you remained aligned. You stayed loyal to God's path, even when it looked like it was taking longer. You trusted His voice over trends. You moved at the speed of obedience, not desperation. And now there is a divine reversal happening. You're stepping into a season where wealth will chase you. Not because you're lucky, not because you're loud, but because heaven sees you as ready. God knows now that the money won't corrupt you. It will complete the mission inside you. It will flow through clean hands and a clean heart. It won't control you. It will fuel your calling. You're not gathering money for status. You're gathering resources for vision, to fund divine ideas, to bring dreams to life, to rebuild what was broken, to answer the same kind of prayers you once cried in secret. Your wealth won't just be stored in banks, it'll be sown into impact, because you understand, real prosperity is not about what you can buy, it's about what you can birth. And what's being birthed through you is generational, it's eternal, it's bigger than you. You're not just collecting income, you're creating outcomes. You're creating schools, ministries, safe spaces, healing hubs, restoration centers. You're going to be the reason someone else finds hope again. You didn't compromise for coins, and now God is about to compensate you with purpose-driven abundance. And that's the key. This abundance isn't random, it's righteous. It's been tailored for your calling. It's coming with instruction, strategy, and kingdom backing you. You're not going to waste it trying to prove something. You're going to invest it into destiny, into people, into healing, into freedom. And Here's the truth: God can only trust certain people with this kind of wealth because it's sacred, it's a sign, it's not for flexing, it's for freeing others. And you, chosen one, have proven through your silence, your patience, and your purity of heart that you're not in this for self. You are a vessel, you are a channel, you are a divine manager of heaven's resources. Chapter 6, the enemy fears your impact, not your income. Chosen one. Have you ever asked yourself why your financial journey has felt like a battlefield? Why just when it seems like the breakthrough is near, the door shuts? Why you've had to work twice as hard just to stay afloat, while others seem to prosper without trying? Let me tell you the truth. It's not because God forgot you, and it's not because you're unworthy. It's because the enemy knows exactly who you are. And what happens when you're resourced? You're not just someone who wants to be rich. You're someone with revelation, someone with a heart that gives a mind that creates, and a soul that listens to God before it listens to the world. That makes you dangerous. Your generosity is disruptive. Your vision is kingdom backed. Your intentions are pure, and hell hates that. The enemy doesn't fear you having money. He fears what you'll do when you get it. Because when you're funded, you'll set captives free. You'll fund ministries, launch businesses with integrity, feed families, break cycles, and rewrite the blueprint for your entire bloodline. You won't buy chains, you'll break them. You won't spend to show off, you'll sow to lift others. That's why the enemy has fought you in the area of finances harder than almost anything else. Not because you love money, but because you carry mission. Every delay you faced wasn't random. Every financial betrayal, every lost opportunity, every setback was an attempt to wear you down, distract you, and disconnect you from the bigger picture legacy. But guess what? It didn't work, because through it all, you didn't just hold on to your faith. You grew in it. You prayed with an empty account. You tithed when it didn't make sense. You served while you lacked. And now you've proven something few can, that you can be trusted in lack and trusted in overflow. God is clearing the path. He's about to open doors no man can shut. And the resources that were once withheld are now being released by divine order. Because the truth is, the enemy may have slowed your income, but he couldn't stop your impact. You kept sowing seeds of truth. You kept uplifting others. You kept speaking life into dead situations, even when you were bleeding behind the scenes. And now God is bringing balance. He's aligning your impact with the income necessary to amplify your assignment. This isn't just about financial blessing. This is about spiritual positioning. You're about to be funded not just for comfort, but for kingdom construction. You're not rising to flaunt, you're rising to fulfill. Prophecy, you're a walking answer to the prayer someone else is praying right now. And God knows once He puts it in your hands, you won't waste it. You won't forget the wilderness. You'll remember the cost. You'll honor the call. So let this be your confirmation. The warfare over your finances wasn't about greed. It was about generational authority. The devil saw what was on you before you saw it in yourself. And now what he tried to delay is being divinely expedited. Chapter 7. You're not just getting rich. You're becoming a foundation, chosen one, This was never just about money. It was never about cars, houses, or status. That's too small for the weight you carry. This is about inheritance. This is about legacy. This is about God using you to create something that lasts, something that will outlive your name and your presence on this earth. You're not just being blessed, you're being positioned to build. God is using your life to lay a foundation that others will stand on, one that will carry ministries, businesses, systems, and structures that didn't exist before you obeyed the call. Your children will benefit, your community will be lifted, people you may never meet will be touched by the systems you create, the spaces you open, and the prayers you pray. That's why this process has been so heavy, because foundations carry weight. God isn't building a moment. He's building a movement. And He's building it on you. You're the answer to unspoken prayers. Prayers your ancestors didn't have the words to say, and now God has chosen you to finish what they couldn't carry, what they couldn't hold. That's why the enemy fought you so hard. If he could stop the foundation, he could block the future, but he failed. You're still here, and now God can trust you, not just with income, but with impact. You didn't chase wealth, you chased God. Now wealth is chasing you because it knows you won't worship it, you'll use it. You'll build with it something righteous, something that reflects heaven's design, not the world's standards. You're not just becoming successful, you're becoming a foundation. The first to build something that lasts, the first to walk in clarity, the first to think generationally, the first to say, this blessing begins with me. You're setting a new standard. You're walking a life others will point to and say, because they stayed faithful, I didn't quit. You may never get all the credit, but that's okay. Builders don't need applause, they need vision, and you have it. You're not just getting rich. You're becoming a launch pad, a quiet force, turning prayers into plans and dreams into destiny. What you're building now will ripple through generations. So don't be discouraged by the cost. Don't be thrown off by how slow it's been. Don't be distracted by who doesn't understand. You weren't built to be understood, you were built to be trusted. God isn't just blessing you, He's building through you, and what He builds through you will not collapse, it won't be erased. It's not built on trends, it's built on truth. You are not just chosen to receive, you are chosen to release. And long after you're gone, your impact will remain.